Good morning, great morning, wonderful morning, spectacular morning, outstanding morning, magnificent morning. Oh, yes, again, as with the beginning of every single one of these calls, the reminder of choice that we have, the reminder of choice that you have, that I have, that we all have to choose our thoughts. Remember, you get to accept, reject ideas, you get to originate ideas. You get to decide whether or not you're going to continue with things as they are. You get to decide what the fundamentally meaningless means. Remember, everything is fundamentally meaningless. Everything just is. Nothing is good or bad. It's our thinking that makes it so. And that right there is where your power lies. It's just a matter of whether or not you're going to choose to exercise that power. Think about that. That's in you. You get to decide whether or not you're going to continue with more of the same or agree with a new idea about yourself. You want to change how much you earn, what you do for work, your lifestyle, the home in which you live, the car in which you drive, all of that. If you want to change it to be different than what's happening right now, it starts with you changing what's happening in you right now. You've got to build it in your own mind first. And that's what we've been studying in this beautiful gem here, the Master Key System. Now, if you don't have a copy of this, make sure you do get a copy of this. Make this one of those go-to resources for you to embed within you these principles, these laws, these truths. Underline, highlight, but most importantly, implement it in your life. Use it, practice it. Remember, that's the only way that you gain understanding. It's through the experience. It's not by reading the book. It's not by saying, oh, I can memorize this and say, no, it's by application, baby. That's where it's at. So apply it and apply it as if your life depends on it. Why? Because it does. Now, before we proceed into where we are in this book, a reminder for you is to get this beautiful gem here. There is no such thing as self-sabotage. This right here, amazing, incredible, spectacular. It is an amazing book that has written within it what we wished was shared with us. This completely obliterates, decimates, completely destroys the idea of self-sabotage, which has been perpetuated by the personal development world overwhelmingly. The personal development world runs by the narrative of you're stopping you, you're in your own way, you're your own worst enemy, and that you self-sabotage is a bunch of bullshit. It's a bunch of psychobabble BS. It's not true. What's in the way is not you. What's in the way is what's conditioned in you. See, it's your paradigm. And that's what is incredible about this beautiful gem here. So make sure you get it. Okay. All right. So with that being said, let's dive into where we are in this masterpiece, the Master Key System. Here we go. Now, the page that we're on in this book is page 413. And here we're on the word reality. But before we go into that, let's go to the word before that we touched on here in the glossary, and that's radical. Proceeding from the root, source, or foundation, hence going through extreme fundamental. Now, this is what we're after here at Elevitality to help you with, to help you to make a radical shift from what's been normal in your life. And why that's so important is because when there is a radical change on the inside, guess what will happen on the outside? You already know the answer. A radical change on the outside. Why? Because as within, so without. With this being said, the reminder for you about this is what was shared with us from Bob Proctor about changing the paradigm. Remember, there's only two ways to change a paradigm. One is through a deep emotional impact, see, a radical change in the narrative happening inside of you, a deep emotional impact. In most cases, it's negative, but having said that, it can happen with a positive as well. And then the other way is through constant space repetition. And that's what we use here frequently with everything that we share with you at Elevitality. So think about that for you, though. If you want big, beautiful changes on the outside, you've got to make big, beautiful changes on the inside first. You've got to make a radical shift in how you are thinking. And if you do, oh my gosh, it'll be amazing for you. Okay. So again, you can look at it this way as from it metaphorically, a radical idea digs into the root of thought, pulling from the soil. Remember, that's the garden of your mind. That's the heart, pulling from the soil old assumptions so that new life can breathe, so that their change can actually take place. All right, now let's move further. Let's move further into this beautiful gem here. Next is reality. That which is believed to exist independently of thoughts or opinions, the independently existent, the genuine, opposed to the imagery or fanciful. Now, here he's referencing the reality, the outcome, the results on the outside. With this being said, we go deeper. And I'm certain that if Charles Haanel were alive today, he would actually amend this to reflect what we're talking about here. And that is the reality that you live by in your life, regardless of that reality on the outside. What he's referring to are those facts. Now, with that being said, we're talking about your perception, and we talked about that a little bit earlier. With that being said, it's important for you to understand that your reality, how you're living in this world full of facts, is not dependent on those facts. It's dependent on the meanings that you give those facts. It's dependent on the perception that you have of all of that stuff on the outside. And guess who gets to determine that perception? You. You're the one. You're always the one. All right, now let's proceed even further. Reason. Now, I love this. There's three things that he puts out here. Now, remember, you have 6 higher mental faculties: imagination, perception, reason, will, memory, and intuition. We go deeper into reason in this beautiful gem here. The chapter on reason here is really cool. And then basically, it's your ability to think. With that being said, let's go into what he says here. Reason, the faculty of mind. Isn't that interesting? The faculty of mind, the beautiful, wonderful tool you have by which experiences are compared and inference drawn. The process of arriving at conclusions by means of comparisons, a proposition from which another is validly inferred. Now, most people do not use this. Most people do not think. Reason is your ability to think. And it's very clear when you look out in the world with regards to a lot of what people say. They're just saying things, but they don't even know they're saying it. See, and that's a big deal. You're not amongst those. If you're here in this call listening to these recordings, you are a thinker. And that is something that, again, the overwhelming majority of people don't do. Ernest Nightingale said it beautifully. 2% of the population thinks, reasons, okay? 3% of the population thinks they think, and 95% of the population would rather die than think. Thinking is where it's at. As a matter of fact, if your mind is open, it's through thinking, it's through the movement of information. Look, here it is, a process of arriving at conclusions by means of comparisons. It's by moving information that your belief changes. Remember, that's how your beliefs were formed, through your evaluations. The way to change your belief is through re-evaluation. It's by changing how you think. It's by changing the movement inside. And by the way, hasn't it been amazing going through these calls, using this information, thinking? Hasn't it been amazing how differently you believe right now? Hasn't it been amazing to see this change of how you see yourself, what you're capable of? Hasn't it been beautiful? All because you've been reasoning. Now, let's go deeper into this. Let's go deeper into understanding this even more. Now, again, reason simply is the power of comparison and inference. But with this being said, let's go deeper into it using a metaphor. But before we go deeper into that, for those of you who are watching this live stream and would love to continue this call, go to elevitality.com and register for Mastermind so you can continue this and also watch the replays. You'll thank yourself later. All right, so let's go more into this metaphor